Midway through the OPT season, the Superboat points chase has reached a fever pitch. Points leader, Spirit of the Amazon, has won the first 3 races of the year, but quietly creeping up the points chart. The Powerboat Marine in second is ready to capitalize on any mistake the Amazon makes. It's a battle of giants on Lake Michigan. From ESPN, it's the Offshore Professional Tour. The thrilling spectacle of multi-engine powerboats racing on waters all across the United States. Incredible speed, raw horsepower, and the will to withstand the pounding of relentless seas. The thrill of danger combined with the excitement of competition. The Offshore Professional Tour. The Florida Keys and Key West present the 1991 Chicago Offshore Challenge.
Well, the fleet will start just south of the Wisconsin-Illinois state line and race south along the Illinois Beach State Park. All along this 8-mile lake, the spectators will have a great view of the action. At the south end of the course, the boats will make a turn through checkpoints 2 and 3 off of Waukegan. Then it's an 8-mile north run, past the 2 big spectator fleets and through the north turn at checkpoints 5 and 6, completing a 16-mile lap. Even though this course is close to shore, the waters of Lake Michigan can be as fierce as any ocean. Each class must make a predetermined number of laps to complete today's race. 148 miles, 9 laps for Superboat and Open, 115 miles, 7 laps for Pro 1 and Pro 2.
The threatening weather has broken. Look at the beautiful day we've got for racing. As the crews are getting ready, a wonderful crowd gathering. Lake Michigan fans are always terrific, and this is a brand new race site for OPT.
And the people over at North Point Marina and the folks at Skipper Bud's couldn't have been more cooperative or nicer. We thank them. Now let's check the point standings in the Superboat class. Amazon leads by 286 points over second place Powerboat Marine Products. Little Caesars is 441 points off the pace. In open standings, it is a 61-point lead for Dirty Laundry over second place AES Motorsports. Ferrari Collection not too far behind. In the standings for the Pro 1, Agitator with a 277-point lead. Mana Racing leads by 255 points.
A good points race now midway through the OPT season. We've got a new crew member in the Spirit of the Amazon, rock legend Stephen Stills. Looking for excitement? Stephen Stills is going to get it today. Let's get to the starting lineups for the Superboats.
Richie Serpullo and Dan Campbell in the Payless Car Rental Cobra. Bud Dry with Wayne Coleman subbing for August Bush IV. Jeff Sofer at the throttles. Insatiable, Barry Roth, Mike Cousineau. Circus with Stephen Dorsich and John Bruno. It is the Powerboat Marine with Russell Wilkin and Jim Dyke at the throttles.
Super Hawaii comes back into the field as the only diesel in the Superboat class. Our points leader with Werner Batista at the wheel. Little Caesars Pizza, Peter Markey and Trace Martin. Then we've got Jaguar Marine, Jerry Stark and Jack Clark. In Excess joins the field, John Garrett and Ralph Martin.
And the pace boat has now got the green flag on, and look at Bud Dry. Oh, they come right out of that chute right now and take a big jump, coming down right here at the start.
Oh, that's a big compliment to the abilities of Wayne Coleman in that driver's seat right now. And here we've got a great battle going on at the start. Spirit of the Amazon is holding back just a little bit with their new driver, Werner Batista. But Bud Dry is churning that water.
And handling that water pretty well, Art Ekman. And look at the lead he has on the rest of the field right now.
In Excess and Circus, the water conditions have yet to really give this 40-foot skater a chance. In 4 races, Dorsich and Bruno have had to battle rough water. Their third-place finish at Coco makes one wonder if speed records would be endangered if they could get on slick water.
Well, here's a boat that's exactly like the Circus, doing very well in this rough water as they head south toward Chicago on this 8-mile leg, lap number 1.
Getting ready for the open classification, let's check the lineups.
As they're about to start, Dirty Laundry, Joe Mock and Harold Smith. Excalibur, Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier. A new boat, they've recovered from the marathon accident. Hyperactive team back in action. Cigarette Hawk, Chris Sotero and Craig Berry. John Shields and David Windmiller, and photo finish.
Next in our lineup, Mean Streak with Robert Gallo and Bobby Cicenti. AES Motorsports has shown a dominating fashion, especially early in the race this year. Bill Aylesworth and Pete Rhodes in Ollie Veet, and Warhawk with Ron Gift and Carl Warren. Ohio Steel hoping they've got everything together with John Revin and Skip Cranner.
And now the start of the race heading south along the shoreline of Lake Michigan. Ohio Steel, you can see them in the foreground. Rough Water greets the fleet as they head on their first 8-mile leg.
What a traffic jam here at the start. And look at the red boat on the right side. Well, this is it. We're right in it right now. US 1, Dirty Laundry, the points leader, holding back a bit. Kind of a wait-and-see attitude for Joe Mock on the right and Harold Smitty Smith on the left, as AES Motorsport is just burning up the water.
And here comes the shadow. Bobby Kaiser Lanier in the Excalibur moving up. And look at this AES Motorsports. Art, this boat is riding pretty smooth for these water conditions.
You know, in showing such power throughout the season, they've done very, very well, Alan Shapiro and Joey Brescia, in the rough water. They're very well trimmed, but giving them the challenge right there is Excalibur, that black exotic machine. And look at Dirty Laundry. They've started to put it down right now. This action is very, very close in the rough water, going some 80 miles an hour.
Side by side, deck to deck, as we look inside the boat of Dirty Laundry, holding on to that wheel, giving a battle. He looks over to his left. He sees the Excalibur. Excalibur notices and goes a little bit out in front. But look out, these guys are really giving it a battle this early in the race.
They're racing on the edge right now in the start. This is a magnificent competition in the early going. We'll see if they can both hold on machinery-wise throughout this race.
Yep, attrition could take a toll as we look at our leader, AES Motorsports, once again. Here's the start of Pro 1 and Pro 2, and these smaller hulls will be a little tricky to handle in this rough water for these guys today.
Back to the Superboat class. In Excess is giving Bud Rye the shout-out. Look at Bud Rye now. Sponson walking, flying. They're racing on the edge for first place right now. In Excess, not racing since Cocoa Beach when they placed 8th. John Garrett now with a select schedule, but he's out in front and really giving a tough time for the Catamaran.
This is a classic Deep V versus the Catamaran. As you look at the Deep V on your left, the Bud Dry Catamaran on your right. Let's go upstairs now in the chopper to Rich Lures.
Bud Dry seems to have enough to hold on to the lead. The In Excess, of course, is holding back as well. Neither boat is doing much over 100 miles an hour. And what I think they're waiting for is the northbound leg, which will be into the wind, which will be considerably rougher in these particular conditions. Somewhere behind us is the inevitable Spirit of the Amazon, waiting patiently to make a move.
Not waiting patiently is Bud Dry, retaking the lead from In Excess. Wayne Coleman behind the wheel for the first time this season. August Bush IV away on business, and this 30-year-old is doing a wonderful job sitting in for August.
Look at this battle. In Excess again pulls even with the Bud Dry as they come down the shoreline heading south here on Lake Michigan. And Bud Dry again pulls out and gives about another 20-foot lead.
What surprises me, Jim, is this Catamaran is doing so well in the rough water. Now, we've seen Powerboat Marine Products come up through the rankings all the way, and they're hanging close. This is a consistent performer, and speaking of consistency, well, they've won every race so far of the Superboat class. Spirit of the Amazon, let's go inside.
We're looking at Werner Batista, subbing for his brother Ike Batista, who is away awaiting his first baby.
Well, I feel kind of nervous, to be honest. I mean, this is kind of windy. I never drove a boat big like that, fast like that. I'm used to driving speed boats. I used to drive with my brother in Brazil, an Apache 41. So let's see what's going to happen. I mean, I'm kind of curious.
Bobby Moore said before the race he'll take it easy the first lap, let him get used to the boat, and then let him hang on.
Payless Car Rental Cobra, challenged by Super Hawaii right here. Dan Campbell, though, in the Payless Car Rental Cobra, he is really getting into this racing. So much so that he bought half the engine building company of C&G Marine. Super Hawaii, meanwhile, this is their first appearance since Cocoa Beach, and that was very disappointing. They were unable to get up on plane. They just brought this boat back from Europe.
And the Payless Car Rental Cobra is currently in 5th place.
Now another craft that's in their first race since their season premiere, actually, at Cocoa Beach. Insatiable. In that race, the hatches blew off and the hull started breaking, but they've reinforced it with steel plate. In Excess, meanwhile, is out in front, doing a fantastic job. That deep V is working well in this very, very rough race.
In Excess leading in Superboats, almost 81-mile-an-hour average, almost 75 miles an hour for AES, leader in open class.
Offshore, Superboat action at its best. In Excess, our leader in the Superboats. John Garrett picking and choosing this season, planning a limited schedule.
I think OPT is making a lot of progress, and they're doing it the right way, one step at a time. I don't think they're going to hit any grand slams in the next year or two, but they're doing it one step at a time. And I'm going to stay involved the same way they're going to grow, one step at a time. And I think the sport will get more and more money behind it, and I want to stay involved in it for that reason, and not only because I like it too.
Al LaRocca from Memphis, Tennessee is getting some seat time in Excess today, looking possibly to joining the OPT circuit with his own boat next season.
One of the good challengers in this race and one of his fine races of the season, Bud Dry with Wayne Coleman and Jeff Sulfur.
This Bud Dry team is starting to put it together. They're really riding the rough water very well today and currently running a very solid second place.
And Spirit of the Amazon is having quite a battle here with Powerboat Marine.
Well, the funny part about this is here's your 2-point leaders in Superboat class battling not for first, but for third place of all positions.
And our reporter right over the scene, Rich Lures.
Powerboat Marine, Spirit of the Amazon locked up in a duel for third place, 3/4 of the way through the first lap. We're halfway back up the northbound leg. And Vernon Batista and Bobby Moore, who are just getting to know each other, have not let the big Spirit of the Amazon out yet. They are, however, falling behind by about a half a mile in excess. That's about as far back as I think Bobby Moore's going to let himself fall in these conditions. Russ Wilkin and Jim Dyke in the number 40 Powerboat Marine are looking very, very strong. And these waves are big enough to get both boats airborne at the same time. There are big seas out here. When you see a 50-foot Spirit of the Amazon Cougar Cat get totally in the air, you know the seas are big.
Spirit of the Amazon, though looking smoother, the bigger boat. Look at, starting to take away from Powerboat Marine a little bit. Powerboat Marine has to work a lot harder in these challenging seas.
Give credit today to all drivers, all crews, and all classes as they really have a battle on their hands. Here's Super Hawaii.
After challenging for second, they've advanced to competitive form really for the first time this season in the United States. They have looked very, very competitive in the European long-distance rally-type races.
Here's the Payless Car Rental Cobra coming right along. Dan Campbell, the throttle man, and he's getting a pretty good ride out of that boat.
Their best finish this year, 4th place in New Orleans, but they've had kind of a hard luck season.
It's been a tough time here. We're lucky enough to have, Payless Car Rentals and C&G Marine out of Miami as sponsoring us, and it has been a hard time for everybody involved. But, they're sticking with us 100%, so you can't ask for any better bunch than that.
Well, don't think that a little bit of bad luck is going to keep Dan Campbell down. This guy is a serious competitor, and he will make a big, big mark in offshore racing. Over to the open division.
Alan Shapiro, Joey Prussia, AES Motorsports leading at 76.5 mile an hour. This boat seems to really take up and eat up a rough water course.
Well, it's to our liking. This is the type of water that we like to run in. Joey and Prussia and myself, we like this type of water. We know how to run in it quite well, and our boat handles it very well. Our boat is a real good rough water boat. It handles the big water very well, and the different types of confused water. The boat likes that kind of stuff.
And AES Motorsports has proved that they are capable of winning any offshore race. In fact, they have led at times in every race so far this season, with the exception of their debut.
Definitely a competitive combination for that team. As we look now at a battle of Ali Veet coming up on Dirty Laundry, we've got a battle between the Deep V and the Cat once again as they head north on this Lake Michigan course.
Ali Veet winning a world championship heat at Key West last year. They also looked very good in the rough water at Grand Haven. They took a second place in Cocoa Beach, but oh, look at that. They almost lost it.
They just launched about 40 feet without even touching the water as they head down toward the north turn.
The Deep V likes to and is built to knife through the water, not hatchet the water like Ollie V. They're getting a lot of airtime, Jim.
On the other hand, the catamaran with the wing between the twin hulls is flying over the water a lot better. Ollie V now takes the lead as the battle continues into that north turn.
What a classic confrontation. And they should pick up some time on the turn, Jim, by knifing through. The catamaran will have to go out a little bit more wide.
Yes, the catamaran has a tendency, if you turn too tight, as we're looking aboard the Dirty Laundry, if Joe Mock would turn that wheel left suddenly, he would hook it around, where the Deep V, launching off the waves right again, watch the Ollie V lay it over on its side, knife through the water, make a tighter turn, while the red boat, the one on your right, the Dirty Laundry, will have to take it flat and wider.
And right behind this classic confrontation is a battle for fourth. Ohio Steel, up at the top of your screen, leading that battle. Photo finish in Hyperactive. Oh, this is an interesting comparison right now. Hyperactive, of course, losing that left spots and ripping off in their premier race. This is a brand new 40-footer, a skater against a 32-foot skater in photo finish. Always a small boat manufacturer, the skater people have now moved up to the super and open class very successfully. Let's listen to these engines scream. David Windmiller and John Shields have to be complimented. Photo finish, blew an engine in their premier race at Marathon. They stumped in New Orleans. They've got it back on the water and competitive.
Bob Gallo and Bob Cisetti in their 41-foot Apache with twin 850 horsepower CNG Cobra engine.
And right behind Mean Streak is Cigarette Hawk. This is the first time this season that legendary name, Cigarette, has appeared on the OPT scene. Not expecting to do that well, really. They've set this boat up, despite being a deep V, for flat water. And now we go to Warhawk. Ron Gift out of St. Joseph, Michigan. We saw him at Grand Haven last year where he challenged for the lead, Jim. Our leader of the Superboat class, In Excess. And behind them, the Spirit of the Amazon is giving a challenge to Bud Dry. Spirit of the Amazon, Werner Batista, Bobby Moore dialing in. They're now turning the course with the fastest lap times, Jim.
Well, you can see that the boat from the Amazon that has won everything in sight all year long, Bobby Moore said a couple of laps into the race, he'll start pushing it a little harder for Werner Batista, who is subbing for his brother Ike. Ike, of course, and his wife expecting their first baby. That's why Ike is not here today.
Spirit of the Amazon now dominating as we look inside the cockpit. That's Werner Batista and the hand of Bobby Moore on the throttles.
And Werner Batista looks like he's relaxed with it all.
Jim Dyke and Russ Welkin in Powerboat Marine. Russ Welkin is some kind of guy. He places a premium on creativity.
Some of the creativity that our people put into this boat has been accelerated because they don't have an open checkbook. Open checkbooks are okay, but I'm not sure if they promote all the creativity that somebody says, here's so many dollars, what can we do with this? That's when you start to bring out the quality of people.
2 1,000 horsepower engines in this boat compared with 4 1,000 horsepower engines in the Spirit of the Amazon, and yet they're only a few points behind in the point race. Here is the battle for fifth right now.
The battle for fifth, the top of your screen, Yoshio Katami. Looks like he's going to take over fifth place in Super Hawaii from the Payless Cobra.
The Payless Cobra showing a lot of wet bow, but they're still in there, hanging in there. Super Hawaii just a little bit more aggressive on the outside of the course.
They have to extend those out drives right now. They're launching off these waves as they head north, and you know, just by the action on these hulls, that this is the roughest part of the course, heading down toward the north turn.
And there's a lot less throttling going on in that Super Hawaii boat. With the diesels, they've got to keep the boost up, and they can't be on and off the throttles like Dan Campbell can with the gasoline-powered Payless Cobra. Updating the open class now, AES Motorsports with an average speed of 74.7 miles per hour is leading.
Second place is Ale Vite, racing on home waters. But does it make a difference? Is there an advantage to knowing the waters of Lake Michigan?
I feel no advantage at all. Lake Michigan doesn't care where you're from or who's in the boat. We don't have any particular knowledge of the conditions. It's a very unpredictable lake. It can change very fast. It can be calm, it can be rough, and do both within an hour. So I have no advantage. It's fun, though, to be in front of the home crowd, and that's the exciting part for us.
Well, maybe it's the home cooking or something, because they are looking as strong as ever this season in this particular race. In third place, we've got US 1 Dirty Laundry, the national and world champion, Joe Mock and Harold Smitty Smith. They are masters of strategy, though. They'll take it for a certain while until they have to put the throttle down.
We expect Alan and Joey to go out and run as hard as they can possibly run from the first time the flag drops. The idea in the rough race is to keep the boat together. That's the biggest problem, is keep the boat together. 90% of the boats don't finish the rough race. So we've got to go out there and run as hard as we can safely without banging the boat up and trying to break every weld in the boat and back off every screw in the boat. There's a lot of vibration, there's a lot of problems, and if we run too hard in a rough race, we're going to break the boat.
These guys are masters at holding a boat together in rough conditions. They proved that in New Orleans.
Two 780 horsepower Innovation Marine engines we're looking at. Hyperactive Thomas Lemecka from Athens, Georgia, along with David Cutter. Very impressive return to the OPT scene after such an accident earlier in the year. Ohio Steel in a battle for fifth with Mean Streak. A deep V battle right here. But notice the flatter bottom of the Fountain Ohio Steel. They get more active on the water than Mean Streak on the far side.
It's like an old hydroplane before they become three-pointers. You can notice it's a step down from the front toward the stern. Ohio Steel, badly damaged the last race, has had the whole left side repaired, and the guys tell me that in the very next race, they're going to increase their horsepower to go along with this designed hull.
This is interesting because they're on the south leg, right near the beach, and that Apache Mean Streak is pulling ever slightly away, picking up their speeds lap by lap. Mean Streak, there's some strategy going on here.
Back to Superboat action. Heading north in excess, and look at the lead he's got, but look what's coming up. It's the Spirit of the Amazon. There's going to be a challenge yet as the Deep V in excess leads at an average speed of 72.2 mile an hour. In open class, it's AES Motorsports, almost 75 mile an hour average here in Chicago. What makes these boats go? Well, we're going to find out when we return.
So much about hulls and engines in offshore racing, but Rich Lures notes another important key.
The phrase, "you've come a long way, baby," applies directly to high-performance propeller technology. While great attention is paid to the engine compartments of these massive offshore race boats, an area of almost equal importance is often overlooked. No boat can be truly dialed in until it is, as the saying goes, propped out. To the untrained eye, it would seem that a racer simply goes to the shelf, selects a prop, bolts it on, and goes. Not true. There are many factors that affect a truly correct propeller for a given hull. Let's look at a few of the basics. The first, diameter. This is the distance across the circle that the prop cuts in the water. The second is pitch, the angle of the blade in relation to the direction of travel. Pitch governs the theoretical distance the prop travels in one revolution. The third is number of blades. There are two rules of thumb that govern this. The fewer the blades, the higher the top speed potential. The more blades, the smoother the performance, and less wear and tear in the drive system. Obviously, you try to strike a balance. The fourth is rake, and this is a tricky one. Rake is the angle of the blades in vertical or perpendicular relation to the prop shaft. As rake increases, bow lift increases, but as rake decreases, stern lift increases. The fifth is cup. This is a treatment performed on the trailing edge of the prop blades, which increases bite or traction on the water. Complicated? You bet. As I said, these are only a few of the factors involved, but all prop development programs have a common goal: optimum prop slip. Just as race cars have varied tire requirements, boat racers look for a controlled amount of prop slippage to allow the hull and engine to perform at optimum levels while adequately transmitting the awesome horsepower to the water. This slippage should be in the 10 to 12% range, meaning that a 30-inch prop will actually travel only 27 inches with each revolution. Getting to that point may require weeks of testing, prop modification, drive height and gear ratio changes, as well as a lot of arithmetic. When you consider the myriad variables like blade thickness, blade area and finish, variable pitch and rake designs, as well as rough and calm water applications, it's easy to appreciate that this truly is an area where only a handful of men in the world are expert. The wisest crew chiefs seek as much advice as they can get. Fortunately, some teams can't or won't devote the time necessary to their props. As a result, great quantities of horsepower are lost in the water. You can bank on the fact that the successful teams, those that are consistently in the winner's circle, are always propped out.
Well, John Garrett in excess, along with Ralph Martin, certainly must have the right props on here today, Jim.
But their average is only 68.5 mile an hour. Their potential, well, about 25 miles an hour faster, but they're watching their boat today because of the water conditions. As we look at the number 2 boat in the Superboat class, Amazon, look at here. We've got a battle back in the pack between Powerboat Marine and Yoshiro Katami in Super Hawaii.
Super Hawaii moving into 3rd place just slightly. Powerboat Marine, though, not giving them any slack at all. He's right where he wants to be, using the strategy he's used most of the season. A 4th place finish at Marathon, 2nd at Cocoa Beach, 3rd in New Orleans. Very consistent performances, staying within striking position of the top boat in the division. Now, Super Hawaii, Katami, there's no question about how much he loves racing, but racing is really a test track for marketing Super Hawaii boats to the public. And he's doing a fine job of it today.
The battle continues as the Bud Dry is going to be challenged by the Payless Cobra. Look at this battle. Bud Dry went out to a lead early in the race, has slipped back now to 5th place, and is being challenged by the Payless Cobra.
Well, I think it's obvious, Jim, that Dan Campbell has got that 46-foot Jaguar with those 4 1,000 horsepower engines running a little bit better. This is the best we've seen him run all season long. And updating the open class, AES Motorsports, they're still doing a fine job, averaging almost 75 miles an hour. That's better than the lead boat in Superboat. Alivite in 2nd place, and they're just not giving up the challenge either. Looking extremely strong on their home turf. Dirty Laundry in 3rd.
Dirty Laundry remains a constant 3rd, but they're starting to make a move toward the leaders. Let's take a look from up above and go to the helicopter at Rich Lurs.
Dirty Laundry, Joe Mock, Harold Smitty Smith sitting comfortably in 3rd place. Not pushing the pace, content to sit and watch the others. Probably banking on 2 things. One, they've got the national points race lead. They know they've got to finish this race, and they have set themselves up at a pace that will almost guarantee that. Number 2, they know that the leaders are pushing a little too hard. They may win this thing yet by attrition. It's a tactical race and probably a wise one on the part of Joe Mock and Smitty Smith.
Rich, is there any possibility that these guys are covering up any problems? They're pretty crafty.
No, Art, they seem to be holding back on purpose. I think they're very content to sit back here. I think their strategy today calls for them to hold back, to count the points they've already got in the bank towards the national championship, and to win the race only in a prudent manner, not to set the pace, not to break the boat. A very, very wise way to go, I'd say, in these conditions.
Veteran throttle man Harold Smitty Smith knows he has to finish this race. He has to get points. Their high point lead is very slim at this point.
There is no stretching of a lead. We have a mere 61-point lead after winning a couple of races here. And but our strategy is not going to be any different than it has been. We're going to go boat racing. Joe loves it, and I like it. You know, it's my job, it's my livelihood, so we're going to go boat racing, and whatever the results are, we'll take what they are.
He likes it so much, Jim, that he's taken off for Japan right after this race to get in a little extra action.
He loves it. He loves it. Look at this. I love this. These guys are back in the pack, but to them, this is racing.
Well, both Ohio Steel and Mean Streak are in good position, though. On the 2nd lap, Ohio Steel ran the fastest lap between these 2 boats, 71.7 miles an hour, but their average lap speed has been slipping ever so slightly to Mean Streak on the right side.
Bob Ciccetti on the radio screen is throttling, trying to catch this boat, Ohio Steel, which, as we said before, is more of a flat-bottom step-down design. They don't shine walk. They don't go left to right. They come up, and they come down very square on the hull. They don't fly as much as the other boats. Watch them.
Ohio Steel taking over 4th place from Mean Streak. Now, they had to completely do new glasswork on the side of this hull. It was delaminated at the last race in New Orleans.
As we look at our leaders, look who's coming to supper. The white boat on your right is the Spirit of the Amazon, undefeated this year. He smells the exhaust on the number 1 boat, In Excess, who's averaging a little better than 68 mile an hour. AES leads the open class. We're coming down to more action from Chicago. OPT action at its very best. Back here on Lake Michigan, here's the Agitator leading Pro 1. Let's take a closer look at Pro 1 and 2 classes of OPT racing.
The grassroots of offshore racing has always been the boat racers of the Pro 1 and Pro 2 divisions. Although they operate out of the limelight, the competition in these classes is fierce. The boats in each class are similar in speed and design. This puts the burden of proof on the racers themselves, making this more a competition of man rather than machines. This is where courage is molded and skills are honed. Competitors in the Superboat and Open classes more than likely moved up from the smaller classes. Case in point, Joe Mock. He captured the World and National Open Class Championships in 1990 after moving up from the modified division where the Dirty Laundry team won World and National titles in 1988. That same haul may be helping points leaders Kirk and Alan Dunneman realize their dream of a Pro 1 National Championship. Hot on their heels, however, is the Skater Express team, with Tough Enough and Eastern Express very much in the hunt. With the first 4 contests of the 91 season being held on rough water, the top points leaders in Pro 2 are V-Bottoms, Manta Racing, Splish Splash, and Can't Touch This. Despite the V-hull dominance, the points race in this division is the closest of all in the OPT. 6 out of 7 teams have over 1,000 points with less than 450 points between them. The Pro 1 and 2 classes are proving grounds for boat and engine manufacturers. Offshore racing enables the manufacturers to test and improve their equipment, transferring new technology to the consumer. The Pro 1 and Pro 2 divisions are where boat racers are born. In these classes, there are no paid crewmen. The team does it all themselves, from hauling the boat cross-country to rebuilding the engines. The actual racing time is but a fraction compared to the amount of work involved in preparation. Behind the glamour of the multi-million-dollar superboat race teams, remember, the Pro 1 and Pro 2 teams are taking on the same pounding seas in pursuit of the checkered flag.
Now we're looking at our leader in Pro 2, the Mercruiser Manta Racing team. Scott Duvall and Bob Reynolds teaming up with Fred Green, and they're on a win streak. They're looking for their 3rd consecutive victory after victories at Cocoa Beach and New Orleans. In 2nd place, Great Adventure, Bill Gazelle. Warren Gazelle didn't make this particular race. His throttle man is Tom Moulis for this particular adventure.
And they're looking for their best finish since a 2nd place at Cocoa Beach. Here's Pro 1, Agitator, P10, right in front of our picture right now, battling Eastern Express, P14. Agitator, remember, has won every race so far this year, and they're overcoming Eastern Express right here. What a battle this is in Pro 1.
Boy, these guys have really got their foot down. Pedal to the metal, if you will, heading north in the rough waters.
Jim, there's something wrong with Eastern Express. I saw a little flash toward the back on the right side of the boat. It looks like it might be a broken tie rod. That would be very dangerous, wouldn't you think, in steering in close quarters like this?
Very, very dangerous. It could mean the difference between victory and defeat, but also it is a safety problem. He has his hands full of the Eastern Express right now. There it is. That's the tie rod that's come loose that keeps the stern drives in sync, helps with his steering. Now we come to the Superboat, and here comes Spirit of the Amazon, undefeated in 1991. He's going to challenge the In-Excess boat that's led most of the way.
Move over, Ike. Brother Werner is doing a great job in his first Superboat race. Werner's 30 years old. He's right in the middle of a 6-boy and 1-girl family, and he wanted to make it very, very clear as we see him here in the cockpit that he was younger than his brother Ike. That's because, just because I have less hair and everybody thinks I'm older, I want to make sure you tell him.
Ha ha, all right, and here they come. The wily, the veteran Bobby Moore starts to put that right hand on those throttles, starts to inch him forward. He's going to take the lead as they head north, down to the turn. Look at the acceleration. He takes the lead.
He just dropped the piano, I'll tell you. You know, Werner admitted that he had butterflies before he went into this race, but he has complete confidence in Bobby Moore, and rightly so. Moore is not going to endanger their point lead, the equipment, and of course, most importantly, the lives of the crew. He's one of the best at adjusting to the equipment, water conditions, and capabilities of his crew.
We've got a problem with AES Motorsports. Your open leader is now down. And coming on the horizon, as you can see the left of your screen, look out, it's the Dirty Laundry with Joe Mock. The hatches are up, the gremlins have struck. the AES Motorsports team again, and that'll give the lead very shortly to the red boat, US1, Joe Mock, Smitty Smith, Dirty Laundry. They are now in first place in open class.
Joey Imprescia trying desperately to figure out the problem, going back and forth from that open hatch to his cockpit area as Dirty Laundry and Joe Mock right here. Oh, this plays right into his hands.
Well, you've got to keep it together. That's all part of the racing game as we look at our second place boat now, Ohio Steel. What a comeback. Whoa, they dug in nose heavy that time, but they came through it in fine shape. Third place as we look at the stern of Photo Finish. They are doing very, very well today. They have been consistent.
They're showing a lot of grit. That's the smallest boat in the open class. And here's Ali Veit. They had to stop at the course to replace a blown belt on the supercharger. They are determined to run as well as they can under the circumstances. That's great competition.
Well, that rooster tail of the InXS spells problems. They are not going to do it all that well as the Lake Michigan waters have mechanically claimed a lot of boats. Here's your boats out of Superclass. Here is the list of boats that will not finish today in open class. Pro 1, they have missed 4 boats because of rough water today. And in Pro 2, 3 boats are out.
Well, we knew this would happen, Jim. The waters have historically claimed here in Lake Michigan many boats, 19 down and out.
Average speed for the leader, 81.9. In the Superclass, Dirty Laundry has an average a little better than 73 miles an hour so far. Back here on Lake Michigan, north of Chicago, the action of superboats continues.
What a sophisticated machine out in front, the Spirit of the Amazon, you know, but the simplicity and coordinating the mechanical with the design has spelled victory for Bobby Moore.
Probably a lot of the teams out-tricked themselves. We're running, actually, the turbo system we're running is what Gentry threw on the shelf a couple of years ago. And we're still running that same system. It gives us better response in rough water. We could run a lot faster if we go larger turbos, but I'd sooner stick with an all-around good boat and good engine package and reliability.
So you're not concerning yourself with being the most unique or the fastest or the fanciest or anything else. You just want to get to the winner's circle.
Yeah, it's easy to out-trick yourself out here. It's the bottom line is to know the equipment, know what you can call for, and I run just hard enough to win the race. If I can win at 100 miles per hour, I'll do that. Some people kind of look down on it, but if the competition's there, I'll run as hard as it takes to do it. And that's been my philosophy for 30 years of racing. I like to get the check and the checkered flag.
And he's doing that today. The check and the checkered flag goes to the Spirit of the Amazon. They have won their 5th consecutive race, their 4th of 1991.
Here's how it lines up officially. Amazon number 1, Powerboat Marine once again number 2, Bud Dry, a most impressive performance.
Here's the finish. Dirty Laundry wins again. Dirty Laundry, the winner of open class.
Their 3rd consecutive victory of the 4 races. The leading point maker puts more points up on the board. Ohio Steel, a surprising 2nd. A strong performance by Ali Veit.
In Pro 1, the Agitator wins their 4th consecutive victory. What a race for that Dunneman team. They've done it again and now hold a 415-point lead in high points over the rest of the field.
Eastern Express tough enough and Skater Express in that order after them. And here's Pro 2, Manta Racing with Great Adventure 2nd. Can't touch this 3rd.
And the 3rd consecutive victory gives the Manta Racing team a 403-point high point lead in Pro 2.
Coming in with the checkered flag in the superboat class, it is Spirit of the Amazon. There's Steven Stills, a happy guy, holding up the checkered flag. It's glory and the winner's share of the purse for our winners of the Chicago Offshore Challenge. Jim's dockside right now with the winner of the open class.
Has to be a good feeling, Joe Mock.
A very good feeling. It was a fairly heavy pace out there early. We were laying back. We didn't think we could keep up with the leaders. The leaders were running faster than we wanted to run in the rough water. So we laid back, and they fell apart in front of us.
How'd you do it, Smitty?
Well, we were very fortunate today. We laid back a little while. We didn't think that the pace that they were setting up front was one that we could keep our machinery together with. And I'm not sure what anybody broke, but obviously it wasn't something the rest of the guys keep together with, too. They were running pretty hard at the beginning, and we're happy to be here.
By their victory today, they now lead the 2nd place AES Motorsports by 236 points. That's a pickup of 175 points here today. Now let's go down to the Superboat winners and Art Ekman.
Well, Werner, does this mean that you're upset your brother now? I mean, you unseat him, you 1 for 1?
That's a good question. I hope he's I hope he's happy. I'm going to phone him right away, and I hope he's happy.
I'm sure he is. And Bobby, how did you start this situation out? Cautiously at first?
Yeah, we took it easy for a few laps, and Vernon did a great job today. He was fantastic, didn't make any mistakes. We waited till about the 5th lap and started to make a move and in excess, but Vernon did a great job, and the boat worked well, and Steve and Randy kept us straight on navigation today, and the crew did a fantastic job on keeping the boat together.
Congratulations, Randy. And Steven, do any singing in the background there?
Yes, as a matter of fact, about lap 4, I started just humming this mindless tune, watching the buoys go by, and watching this guy get in the groove, and everything, skipping over the ocean like a stone.
Well, Werner, does this mean you're going to get your own boat now someday? You got the bug now?
That's a good question. Why not, huh?
Spirit of the Amazon now leads Powerboat Marine by 337 points in the high point chase.
Little Caesar's Pizza slipping with a 9th place finish today, but Bud Dry, a very impressive 3rd place finish today, moves up to 4th in national points. Our Florida Keys and Key West Key Maneuver of the Race award goes to Ali Veet in the open class. Looking as strong as you can look at the beginning of the race, they had to stop 3 times to correct a blower belt and still placed 3rd in the open classification.
Our next stop, we're going west. San Diego, California, and on to Long Beach before coming all the way back to the eastern swing to pick up the New York National Championship race, and then down south for the World Championships in Key West.
It's been a great day of racing on the waters of Lake Michigan. This is Art Eckman for Jim Hendrick and Rich Lure saying thank you for joining us. The Florida Keys and Key West Chicago Offshore Challenge. This has been a production of IPI Sports in association with ESPN.